Good morning and welcome to the ISM webinar on Sage Inventory Advisor. Thank you for taking time out to join us today. A bit of housekeeping: all lines will be muted until the end of the presentation, at which time we will open up the lines for questions and answers. Today we have Mr. Tom Wilson from Sage Inventory Advisor joining us. And with that, Tom, I'm going to turn everything over to you. Thank you.
Okay, hey, thanks. Well, hey, everybody. So my pleasure to speak with you today. Again, my name is Tom Wilson. I work for Sage, and I'm what's called a product sales specialist for the Inventory Advisor solution. So my privilege to show it to you today. Hey, what I'm going to do, I'm going to start with a very short PowerPoint introduction to introduce a few concepts around a planning tool, compare and contrast that to the ERP platform. Then I'll pull up a live instance of Inventory Advisor. We'll do a navigational tour. We'll talk about, we'll start at a high level. We'll drill down into some detail. And then we'll wrap up with a couple of slides that talk about pricing and installation. So without further ado, and we'll leave plenty of time at the end for questions. We're glad to field those as we go. So I'm going to start with a slide. It says Inventory Optimization. I'm going to go to the next slide, and it says, what is Sage Inventory Advisor? And Inventory Advisor is an example of a connected service. And one of the things Sage is trying to do is to enhance the investment our customers have made in our ERP platforms, which certainly include Sage 100, 300, 500, and X3, by offering solutions that complement or extend that investment. And more, our customers are asking that these extensions be deployed in a cloud or internet-enabled environment so that you can access it 24/7 from any device, any browser. And because planning tools can be quite expensive, even price prohibitive if you were to pay the full license fee up front. So instead, Sage has put Inventory Advisor on a month-to-month subscription, but there is no long-term commitment. In fact, the only commitment is the first month. If after the first month this doesn't meet your needs, you can cancel at any time. But it is a planning tool. It's an inventory planning tool designed to tap into the rich transactional data that's in your Sage ERP platform, harness that information, but pull it into an engine that's based on industry best practices and analytics for recommending inventory stocking and replenishment levels. So for any location, you can have one or many, but for any location, you can see what your inventory is. Are there any items that need attention? Or is there anything that you have too much of, not enough of? What impact is that having on your business? And is there anything you need to make or buy to keep that inventory at an optimal level? And if you're spending a lot of time making these same decisions manually with manual reports, tools, and spreadsheets, this will automate that process. In fact, if you look at your current ERP system, it does a pretty good job with its inventory control module to keep track of what your current inventory is. It keeps track of thousands of transactions, hundreds of details, keeps from inventory from pricing and costing and everything in between. And you absolutely need a system that keeps track of that level of detail to keep track of your current inventory. But that system doesn't necessarily answer the question, is that what should be in stock? Given the demand for the items, given lead time from the suppliers, when should you be placing orders, especially if you already have orders in the system? And most of our customers are making those decisions with manual tools, reports, and spreadsheets, and that can result in some inventory challenges. In fact, 42% of our customers have said they struggle with stocking out of inventory, which could impact customer service and sales. 37% have said they struggle with overbuying, ending up with excess inventory and have money tied up in working capital that could be used for other things. And 21% have said, in addition to those two problems, they spend way too much time trying to figure out what that optimal inventory is, and is there something more robust and automated to help with those decisions. And that's what Inventory Advisor brings to the table. It does not replace Sage ERP. In fact, it needs data from Sage ERP. But what Inventory Advisor brings to the table is inside the circle. And it starts first and foremost with a forecasting engine. It's pretty hard to determine what your inventory should be if you don't have a profile of your demand moving forward. So it has a very robust forecast engine, and I'll show you that in the software. It also has an ordering and scheduling engine. So for every item, whether it's a raw material or a finished good, Inventory Advisor will recommend a minimum stocking level, a maximum stocking level. It'll calculate a reorder point. Then given the demand for the item, lead time from the supplier, compared to any orders you may already have in the system, it will recommend when you need to place orders to keep that inventory at an optimal level. And if you are starting to run out of an item or have too much of an item, it will alert you especially for those items that are critical to your business. So the way it works is Inventory Advisor is a cloud-delivered service. So Sage will set up your instance of Inventory Advisor on a Sage-provided server, then set up a connector through the internet to your Sage ERP server. That connection is highly secure. The data is encrypted. There are keys on both ends. Your instance of Inventory Advisor is unique to you. Only you have access to it. But on a daily basis, and if you want to run this more or less frequently, you can. Most of our customers load data once a day and plan their inventory in a 24-hour window. We have a few that load data more than once a day. We even have a few that only run it once a week. But usually once a day, you'll load data from your Sage ERP into your instance of Inventory Advisor. So it will pull sales history, any orders you have in the system with your suppliers, orders from your customers, on-hand balances, open outstanding purchase orders. It'll load your bill of material if you do any manufacturing, assembly, or kitting. But it'll pull that data in a read-only file. It takes about 10 minutes. It'll extract that and load it into your instance of Inventory Advisor. Inventory Advisor will disconnect from your Sage ERP server. Then your planners, your purchasing managers, anyone that you want to access the planning tool can. The subscription is for unlimited users. Now, these are users that are not affiliated with your ERP login, so you're not burning up a user ID. It does not impact the maintenance you're paying on Sage ERP. These are just people you want to give access to the planning tool. And you can access the planning tool from any browser, Internet Explorer, Safari, Chrome, any device that supports a browser. So I've demonstrated this on my iPhone, my iPad. Today, I'm in my home office. I'm on my laptop. I'll be using Internet Explorer. But you'll be presented with a series of planning recommendations, starting with what we call a dashboard, which is a high-level summary. A summary of all the inventory at any given location. You can have many or multiple locations. But for any location, it'll show you what your inventory is, recommend what it should be, identify any items you have too much of, the impact on your business, any items you're out of or about to run out of, what impact that could have on customer service or sales, and is there anything you need to make or buy to keep that inventory at an optimal level. You can make those decisions in Inventory Advisor and then send those as instructions back to your ERP for execution. So what Inventory Advisor is designed to do is really answer two questions, the two green boxes. On the left, first, is there anything that needs attention? Are there any items you're out of or about to run out of? Could that impact customer service and sales? Which are the most critical to pay some attention to? Are there any items you have too much of that could be costing you money and have money tied up in excess inventory? And is there anything on the right that you need to make or buy to keep that inventory at an optimal level? So it will recommend all of that information in those green boxes. And to do that, it does bring several capabilities to the table above and beyond anything in Sage ERP. And it starts on the bottom right, again, with a very robust forecast. But on the bottom left, this is a page out of an industry best practice for managing inventory. And what that is not all items contribute the same to your business. Some items contribute greater in sales. Other items contribute greater in inventory turns or volume. And the best practice is you want to identify the items that contribute the most to your business so that you can set appropriate replenishment policies. You certainly want to be more aggressive for the items that contribute more to your business. And you want to be alerted if something's happening to those items. So by loading data from your ERP into Inventory Advisor, you will be able to, Inventory Advisor, with some parameters that you can set, will be able to rank every item based on its sales contribution to your business, either as an A, B, or a C item. Typically, it's an 80-20 rule, where 20% of the items are generating 80% of the value. Then Inventory Advisor will take the same item and rank it based on its inventory turns as high, medium, or low. And that produces the following matrix, and every item is going to fall into one of those 9 boxes, which is the intersection of an A, B, or C row and a high, medium, or low column. So those items in the upper right, those green boxes, those are your bread and butter items. Those are the items that contribute the most to your business, and you certainly want to set more aggressive replenishment policies, and you want to be alerted if something happens to those items. But it starts by identifying those items. And what most of our customers have told us when they do turn on Inventory Advisor is of their existing inventory, typically 2 to 10% of that inventory is in some kind of a stocked out status. Either you're out of an item or about to run out of an item, which could impact customer service. 10 to 15% of the existing inventory is in some kind of a surplus or excess status. We have more than you need, money tied up in working capital that could be used for other things. And roughly half of a planner's time is not spent necessarily making planning decisions, but maintaining reports and spreadsheets so that you can make planning decisions. So Inventory Advisor will not replace the planner or the expertise that you have in your business or industry, but it will replace the manual tools and reports with something much more automated and robust, so you can spend more time analyzing information, focusing on items that have critical impact to your business so that you can make decisions. And if you can impact any or all three of those areas, eliminate excess inventory, eliminate stockouts and improve customer service, give planners better information to be more productive and efficient, again, the ROI against a monthly subscription can be quite substantial. So I'm going to switch gears, and I'm going to pull up a live instance of Inventory Advisor. So bear with me 1 minute. And what I've now pulled up, if you follow my cursor, I've pulled up a live instance of Inventory Advisor. I am on an instance with demonstration data. I'm connected through Internet Explorer on my laptop. But again, this could be any browser, Chrome, Safari, could be a Droid. Just depends on what's most convenient for you. Inventory Advisor is highly scalable. We have customers with less than $100,000 of inventory planning with this tool. We've got customers with over 50 million. My demo database happens to have about 10 million, just to give you a feel for the scale. But I'm going to go ahead and shrink the menu bar so that we can see the full screen. And when you first log in to Inventory Advisor, you do see what is called a dashboard, which is a high-level summary. Think of it as a macro overview of all the inventory at this location. Now, you can have multiple locations, and if I click my dashboard button, you can see all of the stocking locations that you're planning inventory in. In my demo database, I have 4 physical stocking locations. You can even plan at a virtual location. I'm going to pick on Los Angeles, and it is my main stocking location. And what we're now looking at is the dashboard for all of the inventory in Los Angeles. So it could be a combination of finished goods, raw materials, components, anything you want to plan. You don't have to load everything in Inventory Advisor, but for what you do load, this is all of the inventory in the Los Angeles warehouse. And the idea of the dashboard, it is a high-level overview, a quick glance to give you a feel for those items that do need attention, that first green box. And it's laid out in several panels, and the idea is to show you items that have issues or need attention, and those that are critical to your business so that you can pay attention to them, drill into information, get information to make decisions. And we'll do that. Let me first walk you through the dashboard. The first panel is called Stock Holding, and it shows that right now in Los Angeles, you are carrying $10.4 million of inventory at your cost. The planning tool is recommending you should be carrying 6.3. That would be the optimal inventory given the demand for the item and lead time from the supplier to fulfill that demand. You can see how your inventory has been trending over time. Each of these bars represents a period of time. There are 12. And they can be displayed in days, weeks, or months. So I can see how the inventory has been trending over the last 12 days, the last 12 weeks, the last 12 months. I'm going to leave it at weeks. And here's how your inventory has been trending over the last 12 weeks. 12 weeks ago, in yellow, if I hover, you were carrying $10.8 million of inventory. I can see how that's been trending. The top of the blue bar is your actual inventory. The shaded area is the model or recommended inventory. So I can see how the actual to recommended has been trending, in this case over weeks, with red simply being the last time data was loaded from ERP. And typically that was yesterday, at which time you were carrying 10.4 against a recommendation of 6.3. So with a quick glance, I can see I've got quite a bit more inventory than the planning tool is recommending. In fact, if I slide over to the next panel, you do have some excess stock in Los Angeles. And that's defined as inventory above the maximum recommended stocking levels. And right now there are 2,195 items in Los Angeles that are in excess, and just the value of that excess inventory is costing your business $3.4 million. And if I click where it says Full Report, I can get a list of all 2,195 items that are currently in excess. And from this list, I can filter, sort, and let me pull it up. So I just clicked on Full Report, and now what we're looking at, hang on one second. And now what we're looking at is the entire list of all the items that are in excess. And the default is it is sorted based on value of the excess inventory in descending order, but you can change the sort order to any of the columns. And if I scroll down, you can see the entire list. This is quite a large one. And if I wanted to export that to a spreadsheet, I could. But what we're finding is more and more of our customers are using less reliance on spreadsheets and doing more analysis online. And so from this report, again, I can see the entire list. It's sorted by value, but I can see the item, If I want to drill into the item detail, I can, and we'll do that in a moment. I can see this item's contribution. This is a C item out of the ABC. It's a low item out of the high, medium, low. Here's your primary supplier, and according to your ERP, your current on-hand balance of this item in Los Angeles, you have 300. They cost $329 each. Therefore, you're carrying $99,000. Inventory Advisor is recommending you should be carrying 4.3. So for this item, you are in excess, and you have 272 units more than you need. And I can look at any item. I can change the sort order. But from this list, I might want to come up with maybe a little smaller list. I'm trying to manage excess inventory. Maybe I'm trying to manage just a small subset of it. So I can come over to my filter, and I can filter down based on certain values. Maybe I just want to look at the age of items. I can look at a certain product, maybe a certain supplier, any groups of items that you've set up. So if you've got groups of items, maybe I just want to look at raw materials. Maybe I just want to look at finished goods. You could come in and look at different kinds or types of items based on any groupings you've set up. Or you can filter based on those item classifications. Hey, I'm looking at a list of excess inventory. As such, I'm probably not as concerned about my A and high turning items. Don't want excess, but if I have a little excess, it's probably not the end of the world. But if I've got a lot of excess C and low turning items, that's inventory I really want to get rid of. So let me just see my C items that are low turning. What of those do I have in excess? Let's apply the filter. And it turns out there are 520 items that meet the criteria excess and are C and low turning items. That might be a list of inventory I really want to burn down. So I can get to the information, slice, dice, filter, but back on the dashboard, out of all those items, and I can get to all of them, here are your top 5. These are the 5 items that are the biggest contributors to your excess problem. These 5 items alone are costing you $265,000 in excess inventory. Almost 10% of your entire problem is not 2,000 items, it's these 5. So if you do nothing else on a daily, weekly basis, the items in the top 5 list would be items you might really want to pay some attention to. But in this case, this is where you have too much inventory right now. Hey, want to give you a heads up. Hey, you've got some orders in the system. Work orders for manufactured or kitted items, purchase orders for supplied items. But right now there are 414 items on order, and Inventory Advisor is predicting that when they arrive, they're going to generate another $1.6 million in excess inventory. We call those surplus orders. And those would be orders you might want to review and proactively review because you might want to either delay or cancel those orders and stop that excess from arriving. So the first 3 panels are giving you some visibility to where you have too much inventory. The next 3 panels are looking at the opposite side of the coin. Are there any items you don't have enough of? And it starts with what we call fill rate, which is over the last 30 days, did you have an item in stock or not to meet your demand? And right now you are achieving an 87% fill rate, meaning 87% of the time in Los Angeles, if you needed an item, you had it. And you're doing that with $10.4 million of inventory. But you could be achieving a 97% target and doing it with just $6.3 million of inventory if you had the right items in stock. So we don't. We have too much of the wrong inventory, which we've just looked at. But because we're not meeting our fill rate target, there's other items we don't have enough of. In fact, if I slide over to the next panel, there are items that you are right now completely out of, stocked out. There are 924 items with 0 inventory. But there's demand on those items. So until you replenish, which is either until the next order arrives if there's an order in the system, or it's full lead time if you have to place an order from scratch. But during that window where you have demand with no inventory, you are at risk of not being able to fulfill that demand. And that could result in as much as $766,000 in lost sales. Does not mean you will lose the sale, but you are at risk. Again, I can look at all 924 of those items. Again, here are your top 5. These 5 items alone are putting you at $194,000 of potential lost sales. A third of this entire problem is not 900 items, it's these 5. So these would be 5 items we highly recommend you pay some attention to. And some things you're going to want to know. You have decisions to make. Hey, do I have one of these on order? If so, when's it coming in? If not, can I expedite? Do I have it at another location? And by drilling into the detail, which I'll do in just a minute, you'll be able to get all that information in one place so that you can make those decisions. But that's where you have too much inventory right now, or you don't have enough inventory right now. If I look a little forward, heads up, here are some items that you are about to stock out of. Now, these are items that you do have inventory today, but we're predicting before you can replenish, you will run out. And when you do, you could lose more sales. So day in the life, I can come in, I can toggle between locations, but for any location, I can very quickly see what my inventory is, what the tool recommends it should be. Do I have too much inventory? What impact is it having on my business? Which are the most critical to pay some attention to? Are there any items I'm out of or about to run out of? What impact could that have on customer service and sales? Which are the most critical to pay some attention to? So now from here, I could do a lot of things. I might want to look at a few of these items that were brought to my attention so that I can get some information and make some decisions, and we'll do just that. Or I might just want to say, hey, Tom, just show me a list of everything I need to make or buy. I want to see one comprehensive list of everything that has triggered a reorder point, and we'll do that second. So let's drill into an item. In fact, let's pick one of these critical items that I'm currently out of that could impact sales. Let's look at this first one, ST8128. I have no idea what that is, but if I hover, it'll give me the item description. The little shadow has simply said someone has left a comment, and if I click, I can see any comments that anyone has left on this item. Now, this is an A item. It is a high-turning item, so it's one of the most important items to my business. I'm currently out of it, and while I'm out, until I replenish, given that window, I am at risk of losing $62,000 in sales. So let's drill into this item so that we can see some information. And by clicking on the item, it's going to take me to the item detail. Now, for any given item, it's laid out the same for every item at every location. On any given day, you may not need the detail for most of your items, but it's there if you need it. And what I'm looking at is ST8128, as it currently sits in Los Angeles, is stocked out. So Inventory Advisor is going to show you what your current inventory is, which is literally data out of Sage ERP, and then recommend what it should be. So let's start with what it is. According to your ERP, stock on hand. According to that, in Los Angeles, you have none of this item in stock. In fact, you have 133 on back order. You have none that are promised or allocated to another purpose. So right now, your available inventory is negative 133. The good news, though, is you do have 1,080 on order as we speak with the Sorrel Auto Parts Group. And when those 1,080 arrive, less your back orders, that will put you in a stock position of 947 units. So that's what your current inventory is. So I guess my most immediate question would be, what is the status of that order? Is it coming in shortly? If so, I'm probably not too worried about this item. If it's not coming in for a few weeks, I may need to scramble. So I don't have to go back to look that up. I can look it up right here in Inventory Advisor. We pulled that data in, and if you look at my purchase order, now this item is a simple item that's purchased and resold. So what's on order is what's on purchase order. If it was a manufactured item, it would be what's on work order. So let's go see what the status of that purchase order is, or that 1,080. And it turns out I have 4 purchase orders in the system. Here is when they were placed, the quantities, and when they're expected to arrive. And again, if that's coming in a timely manner, I'm probably done looking at this item. If not, maybe I could expedite one of these orders. If that doesn't work, maybe I could come up here, and if I carry this item at another location, it might be awful nice to know what the status is there. So I'm going to look at this item, but now I want to look at it at my other locations. I'm going to hit my Location tab, and it's going to map what this one item status is across all of the other locations that it's stored at. And it turns out New York is about to run out. Detroit is stocked out. We know LA is stocked out, and Chicago looks like it may have some extra. So if I need some immediate or emergency, maybe I could move some from Chicago to LA. But I have visibility to that information so I can make those decisions. So that's what your current inventory is. Again, just data organized out of Sage ERP. Let's now talk, though, about what your inventory should be for this item. And that's the power of Inventory Advisor. And it starts up here on the upper right. Again, it's pretty hard to determine what your inventory should be if you don't know what your demand is moving forward. So by loading sales history for every item, you can have up to 5 years. This particular item has 27 months. Inventory Advisor will load the sales history, which is represented graphically in blue. Inventory Advisor will compare that pattern in blue to 15 different forecasting methods. So it's going to look at things like linear regression, exponential smoothing, sum of the year's digits. It's going to look for trends, patterns, spikes, outliers. And based on that pattern in blue, Inventory Advisor has tested all 15 forecasting methodologies and has determined that a seasonal profile is the best fit to predict future demand. So Inventory Advisor has selected a seasonal profile and has used it to create a computer-generated forecast for the next 12 months. Now, everything you see in this panel happened automatically. Inventory Advisor loaded the sales history, selected the best forecasting methodology, and has used it to create a computer-generated forecast. Now, if you want to drill into that forecast in yellow, maybe make some adjustments, you certainly can. Maybe you have a big promotion on this item, maybe you're phasing it out. But in any event, Inventory Advisor will track how is the forecast doing against actual sales, and it will alert you to any item whose forecast needs review. So a very robust forecast. Now, the next thing that Inventory Advisor is going to recommend is what is the minimum stock you should be carrying for this item, in this case in Los Angeles. The reason you want a minimum, we actually call it a safety stock, but the reason you want a minimum is things happen. Customers order more than you think. Suppliers don't always deliver on time, so there's a risk that they might deliver late or the wrong quantity. So you want to set a safety stock to protect you from running out. And you can do that today, but you have to set it yourself. And how do you calculate it? How often do you update it, especially across thousands of items? Most of my customers tell me it's kind of a best guess. So Inventory Advisor is going to recommend that for you, and it's going to base it on several very dynamic inputs. Well, one of those is that best practice. You might want to set a much more aggressive target for the items that contribute more to your business. It's going to look at the lead time. How long does it take to get this item from the supplier? The longer the lead time, you might need a little more safety stock. So for this item, the lead time is 90 days. When you place an order, you can expect it to arrive in 90 days. But can you? Does the supplier deliver in 90 days? Do they deliver the right quantity? Because if they don't, you should increase your safety stock. So Inventory Advisor is going to assess that risk. Again, it's going to pull some more data out of your ERP. And in this case, it's going to pull that and give you a supplier performance scorecard. How is this supplier doing? Are they delivering on time? Are they delivering the right quantity? I can see that graphically, or here are the actual transactions. Turns out this supplier is doing pretty good. In fact, they're just about spot on the stated lead time, so the risk that they may not deliver on time is pretty small. But based on all of that, Inventory Advisor is recommending that you keep 122 days of this item as safety stock. Well, what in the world does that mean? Tom, I just want to know how much of this item to stock and when I need to replenish. And all that happens in this policy panel. And Inventory Advisor is going to look at it in both days of coverage and transpose it into units. So let's start with days. This is actually a textbook and simple equation. When you take your lead time, which was imported from ERP, either at the item or supplier level, and you add it to your safety stock, together that equals your reorder point. And the idea is you want to place an order a lead time before you hit your minimum or safety stock. So when you go below 212 days of coverage for this item, place an order. The order you place depends on your cover forward period. This item was set for 7 days. You might want to be more aggressive for your higher value items. So when you go below 212 days, place an order for 7 more, which gets you to your max. So in days, here is your minimum recommended stocking level, your reorder point, and your maximum. But the question is, how does that transpose into units? How many units do you need to cover that 90 days of lead time, to cover that 122 days of safety stock? Well, it depends on that demand over here in yellow. So based on this demand, you need 684 units just to meet your demand over lead time. So now in units, driven off of a forecast, here is your recommended minimum stocking level, your reorder point, and your maximum recommended stocking level. And Inventory Advisor does that every day for every item at every location driven off the demand. And then it will compare it to what your inventory is. Remember that 947? Well, even though you have 1,080 on order as we speak, and that's going to result in 947 units, you're already below your reorder point. So you should place an order. The order you should place is enough to get you back to your max. And that's the difference between the 947 and the 1242. You should go ahead and place an order for 295 right now. And that's so you don't run out moving forward. And how does that look over the next 12 months? Well, I have a forecast. Let's go see how that projects. Inventory Advisor is going to try to keep you within your mins and maxes at an optimal level. and that transposes into here when we're projecting you will need to place orders for this item. And again, Inventory Advisor is doing all of this for every item, at every location, every day. Now let's go look at a different item. This item was just a simple item that you might buy and resell. I'm going to pull up a raw material. Now this item goes into many different finished goods. So let's go look at ST950. I don't remember the last letter. Here are all the items that meet that criteria. This is the one I want. So now this item is a raw material. It goes into many different finished goods. So how much of this item to have in stock depends on the demand for each of the finished goods it goes into at its bill of material ratio back down to this item. Well, this item can also be sold as a standalone item. Maybe it's a part. So it's a part that goes into an assembly, but it's also a part that can be sold by itself. So I need to know its standalone demand as well. So let's look at both those demand streams. So let's start with the bill of material demand. Because we load the bill of material file, ST9501 was flagged as being part of a BOM. And if I click on that, it'll show the world through the lens of ST9501. It is a raw material. It goes into these three finished goods. So how much of this item to have in stock depends on the demand for each of the finished goods at its bill of material ratio back down to this item. Well, Inventory Advisor isn't just planning at that simplistic level. It's planning across your full multi-indented BOM structure. So it's planning across all of the components and subcomponents. But just to keep the illustration simple, let's just look at this one item. How much ST9501 to have in stock? Well, it depends on the demand for the finished goods it goes into. So let's go look at the demand for those three finished goods. Let's just flip the view. And now I'm looking at the three finished goods. Inventory Advisor has already loaded their individual sales history, generated a forecast for each of those items. You can drill in, make adjustments to that forecast. But based on the demand for each of those, let's look at the second one. Based on the demand for this item, exploded through the bill of material and at a ratio of 5:1, I need 5 of this raw material to go in one of these finished goods. Given its demand, I need 2.4 thousand of this raw material just in the month of November just to meet the demand for this finished good. And it'll do the same thing for the others to give you your total bill of material demand. But that's only part of the equation. That's how much of this item I need to go into my finished goods. Well, this item also has its own demand. It can sell by itself. So the top part, the lighter yellow, is the bill of material demand. The lower part, the darker yellow, is the standalone demand. So we have our own sales history in blue, our own forecast in dark yellow, and together that equals your total aggregate demand for all of the uses of this item. And now the logic is the same. Inventory Advisor will take that aggregate demand, recommend a minimum stocking level, and now transpose into units. Here is your minimum recommended stocking level, your reorder point, and your max. And then again, it'll compare it to your current stock on hand. Now this one's kind of interesting. You have a surplus order. Why? Because right now you have 7,895 in stock. You have an order in place for 566, which is going to get you to 8,461. Well, that's quite a bit above the max. So that order is going to put you in an excess position. You don't need all of that. So you might want to cancel some or all of that order because it's going to bring you into an excess position. But I have visibility to all that information, and that's an example of a little more complicated item. So now, does that mean I have to look up every item, look at the details to see if I need to place an order? Absolutely not. Let's go back to the dashboard and what we've done so far. We looked at the dashboard. We looked at the top items that need attention. We picked a few to drill into to get some information so that we can make some decisions. But now as a planner, I just want to see what do I need to make, what do I need to buy. And with one click, show me everything I need to order, either a work order for a manufactured item or a purchase order for a supplied item. Show me everything I need to order for my Los Angeles warehouse across all my suppliers, and here's the list. This is a list of every item. That has triggered its reorder point, broken out by supplier. So for instance, the Pan Asia Limited supplier. Inventory Advisor is recommending you place 12 items on order. Now, you may order 1,000 items from this supplier, but today 12 have triggered its reorder point. It's 5,668 units. It's going to cost $298,000. And if you had cubic feet and weight set up in the item master, that would pull in, and you could total that to see what the size of this order is, and which might be helpful if you're trying to fill up a truck or a container. But now, since this is a purchased supplier, as a purchasing manager, if I want to review the recommendation to place 12 items on order with this supplier, maybe make some adjustments, all I have to do is select it. Let's go look at those 12 items. But in this case, ultimately, I want to create a purchase order. And if you follow my cursor, we're looking at the recommended order for the Pan-Asia supplier for my Los Angeles warehouse. Here's that same summary, units, cost. But now for each one of those items, in my order schedule, Inventory Advisor is going to show you a summary of that item's detail. I can see that forecast. I can see that information in days and units. Hey, before I place this order for Los Angeles, let me go see if I have any surplus at another location. I can see that from here as well. This is an A item. It's medium turning. It's currently stocked out. Inventory Advisor is recommending you order 80. They are $78 each. It's going to cost $6,300. And with a lead time of 110 days, you could expect this to arrive on March 4th. Now, if this isn't enough information to validate the recommendation to place 80 on order, I can always drill back to the detail from here. I can even do it in a new window if I want. So I went from the order recommendation for this one item to the detail for this item. Same layout. I can look at the forecast, the safety stock. I can look at any orders from my customers. I can look at any orders, purchase orders I have in the system. How's the supplier doing? I can look at my forecast accuracy. And you know what? After drilling into some detail, I am not comfortable with 80. I know this supplier. I know this item. I'd be a little more comfortable bumping that up. So I'm going to go back to my order schedule. I'm going to change that from 80. I'm going to bump it up to 90. And now I'm going to tab out. And now I've added 10 items to this order. I've added $788 to this order. And here's what the order would look like if I placed it now. Now I can continue to review each of the items that Inventory Advisor is recommending I order, drilling down into information if I want to, making adjustments along the way if I need to, and I can continue to review each of those items. Now, after you've done that, you can either send this back to Sage ERP as a purchase order, but maybe you've got other items you order from the supplier. Hey, there's other items I can add, and you know what? Maybe I haven't reached a limit. Maybe I haven't gotten to a container size. Maybe I haven't gotten to a certain weight limit. Maybe I haven't gotten to a certain cost limit. Right now you're at $299,000. So let's say I want to add some other items. I want to get up to, let's say, $304,000. So I could certainly come in and add some other items. That probably wouldn't be a good candidate. It's a B item. It's low turning. Probably don't need to order any more of those. If I'm going to add anything, at least let me add something that's going to turn fast, if I'm going to add above the maximum. Well, that's already the optimal order, so maybe it would make sense to order some other items. So these are the 12 items that have triggered a recommendation. Let's go look at any other item I can order from this supplier. And now I'm looking at a list of all the other items I can order from this supplier. I can see the item. These have not yet triggered a recommendation from Inventory Advisor, but I could still place an order. I could look at the item, drill into details, see the contribution, what's currently on stock, and I could select any of these items if I wanted to add it to the order. But how about we let Inventory Advisor help us? Hey, if I'm trying to get to a certain unit goal, a cost goal, a volume or weight goal, let's go with cost. And let's say I'm trying to get this up to $304,000. Inventory Advisor, oops, I went one too many. Inventory Advisor, help me select out of these which would be good candidates. And it tried to get me as close to 304 as it could get. And it has recommended the ones in green. And the reason it selected those is those would be excellent candidates because you're getting close to triggering a reorder point anyway. So those would be good candidates to add to this order. We call that the top-off feature. And I can add those to the order. And now what I've done is I've taken the original 12 items. I've made an adjustment to one or two of them. And I've added some other items because I'm trying to get to a certain goal. And now I'm ready to place this order. I don't have to go back and type it in to the purchase order module. All I have to do is hit the download button, and this will be exported as a file from Inventory Advisor and imported to the purchase order module of ERP. You'll still need to execute the PO. Any rules, procedures, workflows still apply, but you'll make your decisions on what to buy using the analytics of Inventory Advisor and your knowledge and expertise to fine-tune it. And what you'll start to see, if we go back to the dashboard, what you'll start to see is you'll start to see your inventory trend towards the model. As you manage your excess stock and catch it before it becomes excess, you'll start to see that trending towards zero. As you eliminate stockouts before they happen, and place optimal orders moving forward, you'll start to see your stockouts reduce. And if you can eliminate excess inventory and free up working capital, if you can eliminate stockouts and improve customer service and sales, and if you can give planners better tools, better information so they can spend more time analyzing and making decisions and less time collecting data, again, the ROI against a monthly subscription can be quite substantial. So let me go back to the PowerPoint for just a moment, and then I'll open it up for Q&A. So Inventory Advisor is a little different paradigm in licensing software. First of all, it is a software as a service model. So it is a month-to-month subscription. So there's a monthly fee, but there is, first of all, it is for unlimited users, so no limit to how many people you can give access to Inventory Advisor. It is a month-to-month contract. You are only committed to the first month. If after the first month this doesn't meet your needs, you can cancel at any time. There is a one-time setup of $2,250, and that covers our cost of setting up your instance of Inventory Advisor on a Sage-provided server, setting up the connector to your Sage 100 or ERP server, loading your data, providing some training and some consulting services to get you up and running. Then there is the monthly subscription, and it's based on two components. There is a base fee of $199, and then what we call a value fee, which is how we keep this scalable across our larger and smaller customers. And it's based on a rate for every $250,000 of inventory you're planning in the tool. And that rate goes down as your inventory value goes up. So as an example, if you had $5 million of inventory, the rate would be $15.50 for every $250,000. If you had $1 million, it would be $22.50. So let's just put in an example. Let's say, this is a calculator, so let me go run it. Let's just say you had $1 million of inventory that you wanted to plan in Inventory Advisor. With $1 million of inventory, the base fee plus your rate of $22.50 for every $250,000 totals $266.50 a month. So your only commitment to Inventory Advisor is the first month plus the setup fee for a total of $2,516. That is your only commitment. Then Sage will charge you that monthly fee every month, but anytime after the first month, if this doesn't meet your needs, you can cancel at any time. Now, it's one of the few products that is purchased directly through Sage. So Sherry and the team at ISM get credit for the sale, but it is purchased through Sage because it is a contract and billed by Sage. So I would send you two documents. One is a one-page order form that would identify the monthly fee, and the second is a payment form, as you can pay this against a credit card or as an ACH against a bank account. So Sherry, let me stop there. I want to certainly open this up to questions, and I can talk through pricing, implementation. I can pull the software back up, so anything anybody wants.
All lines are open for questions now. Checking the chat window. I see no questions in the chat window. Are there any questions from the attendees? Okay, well, I'm going to take that as a no. This, as all of our other webinars, will be posted to the ISM YouTube channel if you need to review or you have someone in your organization that you would like to see this webinar. We have a few more webinars coming up this month. Please continue to join us. Next month is our year-end close webinar series, so take a look for our December newsletter. Tom, I'd like to thank you for your time as always. Everyone,
my pleasure. Thank you.
Day. Thank you, Tom. Everyone have a wonderful day, and thank you for attending.